In the early 20th century, the immigration of Mexicans to the United States was greater than ever, as many crossed the border in search of the higher wages that Mexico's current economy could not offer them. This rapid flow of immigration was put into reverse in 1929 by the Great Depression, with the number of Mexicans entering the U.S. falling to just hundreds. As the Depression worsened, so did anti-Mexican feelings. They became seen as competition, as more and more European Americans began seeking jobs that were once considered only fit for Mexicans. Many had the simplistic belief that once Mexicans were expelled from the country, U.S. workers would find employment and the Depression would end. Repatriation of Mexicans was a response by the government to ease the anxieties of distressed European Americans. Estimates say that in the 1930s, over 1 million Mexicans were repatriated. About 60% of all repatriates were U.S.-born Mexican-American citizens. Their constitutional guarantees were worthless at this time, as their rights as American-born citizens were not taken into account. Several Mexican immigrants and Mexican-Americans left the U.S. for Mexico with the hope that there they would find not only a refuge from the economic struggles of the Great Depression, but also from the prejudice and discrimination that they had experienced in the U.S. However, they found that Mexico was not the haven that they had hoped it would be. Upon arriving there, repatriates often found that economic conditions were as bad as or worse than those that they had experienced in the U.S. The continuing stream of refugees strained Mexico's resources. The government ultimately did not have the funds to handle all the repatriates and failed to provide sustainable solutions that would allow the repatriates to become self-sufficient. Additionally, the repatriates found that even in Mexico, they continued to be considered foreigners and were discriminated against because of it. Many local Mexicans exhibited hostility towards the repatriated because they saw them as a threat to their jobs and resources. The repatriates were also stereotyped as lazy and spoiled. They went from a place where employers discriminated against them for being Mexican to a place where they were discriminated against for being American. For U.S.-born children and teenagers, repatriation proved especially difficult and even traumatic, as they were stripped from the only home, friends, and surroundings they had ever known. Upon encountering these dismal prospects, many repatriates attempted in vain to return to the U.S. However, they had been wrongly deceived into believing that they would be able to come back to America on their own accord. In the end, Mexican repatriation did not provide a solution for Mexicans or real Americans. It neither helped fix the state of the U.S. economy nor helped fix the economic and social problems that Mexicans faced in America. The start of World War II and the subsequent surge in the American economy led to the next era in Mexican immigration. More specifically, the repatriation movements of the 1930s ended when the U.S. government began recruiting braceros in 1942 to provide labor for U.S. farms. Upon repatriation, Mexicans were not simply returned to their home country, but many American citizens were essentially sent into exile into a foreign country. In Mexico, many of the repatriates received similar prejudice and discrimination that they had experienced in America, but this time from fellow Mexicans. This narrative not only speaks of the fragility and malleability of racial identity, but also speaks of the incredible endurance of Mexicans amid great discrimination and maltreatment.